Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. Keep in mind that I'm not a racial supremacist. I'm going to say some things in this video that I'm 100% right about, as usual. And they're going to be kind of controversial. So the word America is a play on words for America. And the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they paved the way for America to keep advancing on a moral path as other people from other nations join them, what have you, to kind of achieve a certain moral excellence. And people have been portraying the heck out of that path recently. And it's heartbreaking. Now, this is not some cheesy speech. This is not propaganda. It's not this or that. This is the truth here. The truth of the matter here. They're using technology to interfere with my speech. And I know it's controversial to say that. I know some people want to play me out as crazy or something, but I assure you that is actually the case. A lot of people have died fighting for this country. And this country has made lots of mistakes. Don't get me wrong. Lots of horrible, horrible mistakes. But there was a certain promise that maybe one day we could be this great nation. And what does it take to achieve that greatness? Well, who's the greatest kind of public figure in American history that's really famous, right? It must be Martin Luther King. There's something to be said about Abraham Lincoln, but he lives a very checkered life. Martin Luther King lived a very respectable life, and there's some controversy about some minor issues that I'm going to leave out of this video. But I'm certain that he wasn't a perfect individual. And he was a sabotage person, a sabotage African-American gentleman, okay, who descended from, the transatlantic slave trade. And believe it or not, I'm different than him to some degree, for various reasons. One, my dad came here from Nigeria. I'm not the descendant of African-American slaves, nor am I trying to insult them, what have you. The point is, I'm different than they are, just like the white man, the so-called white man and white people. White ladies and gentlemen are different than they are. So it's the same with Jews. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't give credit where it's due. That's a part of it. If you don't give credit to the righteous, it takes the country in the wrong direction. So the word airy, right, has the word air, right? The sky, the heavens. Psalm 19, the heavens declare the glory of God. Part of that is the sky. The sky during the daytime and the night sky. The sun, the moon, the stars. There's a certain connection. Then Satan is said to be a demonic deity that manipulates the air. Now, believe it or not, this is part of the wordplay there. There's a difference between wordplay that is about trickery and treachery, trying to get over on people, right? Together, to get her. To get her why? In an underhanded manner? Or to get her to come to the light? You see how there's that difference there. And so when it comes to airy, in the Igbo religion, and I know that most of my viewers probably won't be Igbos, right? But that's okay. I'm mixed myself. I've never been to Nigeria. And I'm different from them as well. Those people who are all Nigerian, all Igbo, I'm not all Igbo. Nor do I have to be to tell the truth and to live the truth and to make a sound call. So, airy in the Igbo religion is an idea that people lie about quite often. It's the idea of God's son coming down from the sky, the top martial arts, what have you. People into witchcraft might lie and say that it's a witchcraft idea. That's not the case. They kind of co-opted the idea. They kind of stole the idea as cultural appropriation. You can be from the same tribe as somebody else and still be guilty of culturally appropriating their idea. Someone might say, hey, they're all Igbo, and I'm half Igbo. I've never been to Nigeria. I don't speak Igbo, yet I claim to know the truth. Well, the idea is a martial art idea from God first and foremost, not a flesh-based idea. So I understand airy more than the Igbo people do. And to some degree, I am one of them. So the Son of God, right? God is all good, all knowing, all powerful. And there's all kinds of immature people who act like Crowley, and even more immature than that seek to interfere with that, who have abused Americans the whole time, really, since 1776. And they intend to keep abusing Americans, including children. These are very immature people. They act like Revenge of the Nerds or American Pie, while your children are getting abused. And they look at you like Jeepers Creepers, some of their allies. They look at you like Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees if you try to tell the truth about this. They stare at you in a weird cult, sort of occultic, occultist way. They act like the demons from the movie I Am Legend. They act like Palpatine and Count Dracula. They act like very sick people. Sick people. These are very sick human beings, if you even want to call them human beings. And it is heartbreaking. Now, if we look at the map around the area of Northeast Africa, and we see Egypt, we see that in the history of Egypt, there was a deity called Har-Oeri, aka Har-Wer, Horus the Great One. So Eri is also called the Great One, right? The Son of God, the top martial artist ever possible, the Great One. You got other forms of Horus, right? Hor, right? A fake form of Horus. Har-Isis, Horus, son of Osiris, and Isis, right? Another fake form. There's different ways to interpret these stories. Okay, but how these cults were living it, it's safe to say that the evidence is overwhelming, and it shows us that they must have been fake forms of Horus. As you leave Egypt and you go to Europe, right? You go to Greece and Rome. You saw they worshipped various forms of Horus as well, Harpocrates. And they changed the story a little bit to fit their culture. So what's more important, being in the culture or telling the truth about the idea, this divine idea? I remember one time I saw a Mexican depiction of Jesus, right? A false Jesus, just like the white depiction. They changed the features to fit their people, to present the idea to their people. They weren't above trying to make it seem like it's, the person was from Mexico or something. That's crazy, right? But we see this all throughout history. They did it. The white man did it. Semites in the Middle East did it. People lied about the idea of the Son of God. All over the world, they're lying right now. Not trying to single out Mexicans or whoever, just telling you the facts here. So then we go to America. Matter of fact, before we go to America, we go to Nazi Germany, where they had the Falcon trying to bring disgrace on Horus. So here are these people who lied about it. They did their research into history, and they said, how do they stigmatize the opposition view, right? The word set is a play on words for settler, set the stage, set up. Like when Zeus, who is the Greek counterpart of Set, raped Europa. It was symbolic of the followers of Set raping the Europeans and guiding them on a certain path of immorality, of decadence, debauchery, what have you. That's what it's symbolic of. And that same mentality came to America. And just like the Romans had slaves, one number was 20% of Romans were slaves, one number was 50% of Greeks were slaves. Just like they had slaves, they're abusing them, they're raping them, they're lying about God, they're trying to feel superior. They did the same thing in America. Do you think that the greatness of America is the despicable act of trying to enslave people, trying to put people under you unfairly? No. See, the greatness of the human race is Horus the Great One, and that is something that after my flesh dies will be gone from the human race. And I wouldn't be doing the topic justice if I didn't highlight that all the time. So now what is left? The wise will stop having kids. We say in Luke 23, blessed are the childless women, the breasts that never nursed, the wombs that never bore. The wise have no problem with me calling myself Horus or Jesus, a story for another day. Because G was the earth deity in Rome, also known as Gaia in Greece. So it says G's us, right? They're the earth deity. Satan is the god of the world, and their governing class was torturing people, inquisitions, reformation, counter-reformation, confessionalism, just abusing people. Right of conquest. They're saying things like this, and they're lying to people. You don't have a right to lie about God whether you take over the world or not. But they think that they do because they're messed up in the head. The church came up with all kinds of doctrine. They said that they could abuse the indigenous people and try to force them into their ways. Now, during this time, there was a spectrum of white people who were at least approaching good, and there was a spectrum of indigenous people who were approaching good to good. Now, as I tell this, as somebody who's part white, should it matter if I'm all black? Should white people and Jews say, hey, I don't like the fact that he's telling the truth? We want to feel proud of ourselves, really. You've been trying that for a long time. You tried that in Greece, and there was a very evil place. You tried that in Rome, it was a very evil place. You tried it in Nazi Germany, very evil place. You tried that during colonialism, and there was a bunch of colonial horrors. And so many of you were ashamed of yourselves for good reason. That doesn't work. The way is the truth. And changing my voice and make it so he sounds propaganda-like. Make it so he sounds corny. Don't worry about how I'm saying it. Listen to what I'm saying. These people think that if they make black faces, they can cover up the fact that the followers of Horus were black. I'm not some Afrocentric person, but that's part of history. It's like slavery is part of history. Should we say that, oh, America's a place where black people went to Europe and took slaves because white people want to feel better about themselves? They don't want to be ashamed of themselves? That's stupid. That is dumb as hell. That's ignorant. You want to teach people lies and ignorance because you're ignorant. What sense does that make? And so it is with this situation. Because I'm not kissing their butts, they're making it harder for me to speak. That is pathetic. Imagine you're from a tribe. Separate yourself from the racial confusion of this situation, because some of you are confused because you're racial supremacists. Imagine you're from a tribe in Europe, and your tribe is making it harder for another European tribe to speak because they're on some bitch-ass fucking shit. Is that something to be proud of? No. Is that something to be proud of and to pursue? No. And only a punk doesn't understand that. Would you be proud of that spear? When you pick up a spear and say, this is my tribe, would you be proud? No. You'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with your leadership? And you would defect. If you have any sense, right? You'd say, I'm out of here. They're a bunch of fucking bitches. Just tell the truth. Quit being a pussy. And that's what I'm asking you to do now. Tell the truth. I'm Christ. Stop lying about these things. America, America, C alpha, Ka meaning spirit. The leadership in America and the masses of Americans who come across my videos, most Americans haven't, but many, many have, hundreds of thousands. Different platforms, different comments that come across my comments and videos. They just shook it off because they're okay enough to come into a spirit of being a fucking pussy. The Bible says the Lord is a warrior. What's the opposite of a warrior? A devilish coward.